Nassau County is known for many things, but what really makes Nassau County a special place is American Beach.
Franklintown was established in 1865 and American Beach in 1935. And for all of those years before American Beach, this very, very strong community existed on Amelia Island. And on the south part of Amelia Island was the Harrison Plantation. And after the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln sent his Secretary of Defense to Fernandina. This was before the ratification of Emancipation Proclamation, but they wanted to find out what would happen to the enslaved people once we were freed. In the Special Order 15, it said they would take 400,000 acres of Confederate land, cut it into 40 acres. When the enslaved people were freed, they would get 40 acres and a mule. The Harrison Plantation, they followed the order, and they gave their 40 acres to the enslaved people on their plantation. They gathered as a community. Their leader was Franklin E. Town. So they named it Franklintown. Franklintown was a bustling community with skilled workers and educators, preachers. They were spiritualists. We're here on the island. So by 1947, we had land that was owned and run completely self-sufficient by African Americans. And as time come, time go, Amelia Island became a place for resorts. And they wanted to expand, and Union Carbide formed the Amelia Island Company. And they began to go to the people, the black folk who were living in Franklintown. And from about 1972 to 1975, they purchased that land. Some say it was tricked, that it was a cloud of mystery as to why this intact community gave it up. Well, they moved the church that was in Franklintown on American Beach, and some of the people who were living in Franklintown got the money from Amelia Island Company, and then they set up their homesteads right here on American Beach. Others went to Jacksonville. And in the 30s, coming up to Franklintown, A.L. Lewis saw that the land next to Franklintown was vacant. He went to a lawyer to intercede who now owns this old Harrison Plantation land, and were they willing to possibly sell it? The answer came back positive. So A.L. Lewis, as president of the Afro-American Life Insurance Company and its pension bureau, purchased the first 33 acres of land, and American Beach began.
I remember growing up, our church used to bring us to the beach at least once during the summer, but we would go down and splash around in the water, you know, and then we'd have like a picnic lunch. That was one of the few places that people of color could go and relax. You know, they had this rule where if you were at the beach, then people of color had to be so many feet away from whites. So when we had American Beach was founded, then blacks from up and down the East Coast and other places could come, and they felt relaxed, and they didn't have to worry about being humiliated.
Historically, it was that first beach that we could go to. When I was young and wild, I would probably come on down here after church on Sunday also. Some of us want to get down to American Beach where Evans was. So
that's the Evans Rendezvous.
Yeah.
As I recall, or people telling me, Maudine being one of them, about Dizzy Gillespie played there, Ray Charles played there, any number of great black entertainers played there.
The 1950s and the 1960s on American Beach was a heyday. But in 1964, September, Hurricane Dora. It tore the trees down, the homes down. All of the homes here on American Beach, most of them, 80% of them were demolished. It was devastating here, Fernandina, Jacksonville, devastation meant change. The beach lady was an advocate for many things around the island, but one specific one. She led the charge to get American Beach to have public water.
You know, I think Marvine had to be given credit. She had support from all over the place.
And she could get national press attention like nobody. I mean, she would have ABC, NBC, all of them.
But she did warn you.
She did.
But the county stepped in my opinion, because we built the case. It was a health crisis. It wasn't just the fact these septics were a problem and the groundwater contamination was a problem.
But through partnership with, I guess, FGUA and the county, I have to say the county stepped up because they were looking for state funds in the beginning to fund it, and they didn't get that. So that's how I got back on the property owners. Then the county manager, was able to go to the county commissioners and find money to fund the project so that it would have to be entirely funded by the property owner.
If you're talking about brand new service, water and sewer, this is one of maybe a dozen in terms of how many communities I've brought that to, where nothing existed before, and now you're building new service, right? It just so happened that we happen to be working with the county administrator here in Nassau, helping them operate their utility. Taco Pope, former planner and incoming county administrator, basically said, hey, we have a community that just doesn't have any service and has been waiting for it for decades. Could you build that? And I joke that I answered the question far too quickly, because they said, of course we can, right? Taco was jazzed up about that opportunity, and we got more excited about doing something that we knew was going to be very difficult.
So for us, y'all did the planning and the development of it, the engineering and design, and then we were able to bid on that in the open market. And we were the successful bidders for it, but we had an advantage that other companies didn't have. We were also the operations company. So we were able to work with the operations side of it as well as do the construction side of it to really help the customers to have a smoother transition.
So there are literally millions of septic tanks in the ground in Florida just because of the way it developed, usually from rural areas, and there weren't water lines. Now, if you put those two things together, let's say you don't take care of the septic tank, well, it starts to leak, and it begins to infiltrate the ground and can actually contaminate the wells. Adding to that problem is this is a community that's on the Atlantic Ocean. It's sitting between two protected environmental areas, and you've got 300 parcels that have both. They weren't inspected, they hadn't been maintained, so it was pretty certain that a bunch of the septic tanks were leaking. They didn't have fire hydrants because there were no water lines, so their house could easily burn down. And the county had a responsibility, we have a responsibility, because there are laws that mandate abandonment of tanks and mandate the connection to municipal service if it's available. So we actually helped the county draft a mandatory connection ordinance that said if that tank is found to be defective, you must connect to the municipal service if it's available out in the road. Now it's available.
In the day-to-day operations down, so to speak, in the dirt, that is a constant moving battle. You have people ready, you have pipe on the ground, you're ready to put it in the ground, and you come across delays. Some that were just relative to that area, we dealt with a lot of turtle delays. Turtles require very specific items to be done in order to protect them. We also encountered a lot of underground unknown utilities that nobody knew existed, such as fiber optic that was marked as active, but it actually turned out to be inactive. The active lines were never even marked. We had some issues with power lines overhead where they had to be completely relocated so our lift stations could be built. A big challenge in that we worked through with the customers that they were so helpful with was, we don't know where the septic tanks are located. We don't know how to find them because there wasn't always even permits that we could find to tell us where they were located. And of course, we were on the ocean, so we dealt with significant dewatering cost.
After many years of trying to solve tough problems, here was one that was pretty complicated, uniquely complicated, but desperately needed.
I think American Beach for me, is important because it tells the story of African Americans and the accomplishments that African Americans have made and can make. But I want us to continue telling our story because nobody's going to tell our story like we can, and for future generations that they keep this on going, that never let American Beach die.
I agree with you. The Afro-American Life Insurance Company saw a need and met that need based on segregation at the time. They called it American Beach so that it is inclusive, and from what I've been able to tell of the history, it's always been an integrated community that people could come regardless of race.
Carter, once this project was completed and we came online, I was equally as excited. It was just, I never gave birth, but a great experience. If the power goes off, you can still get water, and you got clean, purified water.
I feel the same way you do. Though I had water and sewer, I'm glad that the whole community now has water and sewer. It's part of being healthy, and I think that we were able to fulfill some of the wishes of people that came before us.
I think one of the things that impressed me about, there was a lot of resentment built up all those years, then American Beach was ignored. And then suddenly, when the light started to shine on, they realized, why haven't we done this? And when they were working in conjunction with FGUA, once everybody got over some of the resentments and started focusing on how we're going to get it done, it made all the difference in the work.
It did. It really did.
This has always been the jewel to me on the island.
I think it's gotten better. The community is pretty much together on it. They're building marvelous houses down there now that they don't have to put a septic tank in the yard or get a pump to pump water out of there.
It gave them an opportunity to expand their property lines and expand their use of their property. They were no longer bound by having that septic tank in the ground. They were able to use that property for something that maybe they didn't have the opportunity for before.
I think it becomes a more desirable, enjoyable place to live and raise your families. The value of their property almost always goes up because now I've got good, reliable service. Their insurance premiums are probably higher when they didn't have a fire hydrant down the street. So that's going to improve the overall quality of life of everybody that's there.
When we build, we want to have running water. So the impact of us receiving running water is a rapid kind of a change. So from 1935 to 2024, American Beach did not have public water. And finally, we got it with the help of the county, with the help of grants, with the help of years of community activists pushing for the change. Marvine Oshun-Betch, the beach lady, she led it. Residents, presidents of our homeowners association led charges. But since the water has come, as waters flow in, water brings on change. Things come in and things go out. Right now, the waves of change are coming in, and the look of American Beach is slowly changing.